Welcome, marketing chefs. I've got something truly special cooking in our Omni-Channel oven today. Marketing Kitchen TV Q&A Live, Episode 16. Up next in the Marketing Kitchen. Welcome to the kitchen, the Marketing Kitchen. Hi, I'm Ron Vining, your host of Marketing Kitchen TV. Thank you so much for returning for episode 16 of our Marketing Kitchen TV Q&A Live. I hope you have enjoyed this 2020 spring 15 episodes before this one series of all things digital branding, marketing, communications, where if you asked your question on Twitter at Marketing Kitchen TV with a hashtag Q&A, I would answer your questions right here. I'm actually excited to put this series to rest. You who have tuned in for potentially all 16 episodes now might be happy that it'll be finished as well. But don't fear, we'll be back in the summer for the summer edition of Marketing Kitchen TV Q&A Live. And we'll be back in the fall for that version too. This is the first time that I've done so many in a series for this. If you look back, just go to the Q&A playlist here on YouTube. You'll see I believe we'll be up to 40, off the top of my head, I don't know, it's 40 plus anyway of these Q&As. And with a bulk of them happening just in the past 4 weeks here, I guess we can thank the lockdown for locking me down to stand here and record these. We've got a couple of new things coming up to the channel after this Q&A series concludes, or maybe even we'll insert them in between because we've been dropping these on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So maybe on a Tuesday, Thursday, you'll get to see 2 episodes coming up, assuming I get to edit them before this one. So maybe I'm foretelling the future or I'm talking about something in the past. But behind me you see the 2020 iPad Pro, and I have it right here in my hands. So this is the 2020 12.9-inch iPad Pro. I will be doing an unboxing and a review of this. So obviously it's unboxed here, but it wasn't at the time that I shot the video. And I will, or you will already have a chance to see anyway here on YouTube, a review of that. And I've been quite busy, so I haven't been able to build a Lego set in a while. But I've put it on my agenda to actually stop working for a few hours so that I can actually build Poe Dameron's X-Wing. This is from The Rise of Skywalker. And so that'll be in an upcoming video, or it's already up on the channel at the time that you're watching this. So check it out. In either case, though, when on the end screen, I will be sure to put those 2 videos there. And in fact, why don't I just say it right now? So up in the title card, or actually it's in this corner, I will put the iPad Pro review here. And actually it's going to be a 2-part series because I'm also going to talk about in the second episode the all-new Magic keyboard with trackpad. So it's an exciting feature, basically turning the iPad away from being a consumption device to being a full-on productivity device as well. Or maybe not. We'll see when I unbox and review that. And then also up here, I'll put in the episode for Poe Dameron's X-Wing fighter. All right, that's not marketing Q&A, but if I don't put a plug in for the other stuff that we're doing, then maybe no one else will tune in and watch it. I really do appreciate all of you who have come back each week or 3 times in the week to watch our different episodes. And hopefully the answers that I've been giving you have been helpful in either your academic study or your own work, either for a corporation, organization, religious group, charity, you name it, or for your small business, whatever that service might be. Whether you are aware of it or not, maybe you are. I am a small business owner and I'm working on a few projects now during lockdown myself, other than the teaching that I do for UMass Boston, which was always fully online. So you couldn't, there was no real transformation for me when things got locked down. I've been teaching online going back to January of 2009. But I also have several businesses, one being a brand advisory. So if there's anybody out there that is looking for somebody to help them during this disruptive time, then as I mentioned in a prior video, I understand that your financial resources are not doing so well, most probably anyhow, based on what's been going on in the world. But I would offer my services free of charge until things turn around. And once they turn around, then then compensate me for my full fee. But for right now, it would be on me to get you started. Then when things are back to normal, then just do what you need to do. And also, I'm developing, as many of you know, I've talked about it before. It's in the four corners here. One of them is AppFlix. And I am also working on putting together that entertainment portal. And I've promised it'll be up in Q2. So this is the first month of Q2, which means I've got 3 in total. So I've got 2 more months to go. And hopefully it won't take that long, but I'm guessing it probably will. All right, plugs out of the way. Let's take your questions. Jennifer, you've been patiently waiting right here. So I'll take on your first question here. We know how to market personalized content. We now know how to market personalized content to boost engagement and conversion. How can we assure we are not violating users' privacy with a behavioral personalization? All right, interesting question. Let me see if I can answer that. Again, without specifics, Jennifer, that becomes a difficult one to do, but let me see what I can do here. I'm going to stick to 2 minutes per question for like all of 2 minutes. Okay, so the key, right, with personalization is the fact that you give your users the opportunity to opt out, or better yet, opt in. All right, there's 2 approaches to this. Opt in is where you don't do anything that captures their data, that uses that data to either contact or reach out to them, and or to sell that data to a third party, right? So there's that. There would be where you would have to opt in to that for that to happen, or you would have something to the effect of an opt out, where automatically all of the things that I just said collect and utilize data, except if the user says they don't want to, so they opt out of that. So I would say, Jennifer, the way to ensure that behavioral personalization is not violating anyone's privacy is for it to be an opt-in for that to take place. Now, not knowing the full context of what you're talking about here, without just seeing what I'm seeing here, I believe that when you're talking about behavioral, you are looking at things like Amazon, buying patterns, cookies that follow you with all the different websites that you've looked at, maybe your health data from potentially your Apple Watch or equivalent devices. And it really is, unfortunately, it really is on you, because we can't trust the corporation and we can't trust our government, because regardless of where you live, your government is spying on you. And whether they admit to it or not, but we've seen that that's the case. And corporations, whether they want to admit to it or not, are doing the same too. So it's really on us to take measures to ensure that we're protecting our privacy, making sure that we're not sharing data or sharing only data that we're willing to have go out. And it's about, you've heard the expression before, buyer beware. It's really on us to do so. Now, we could certainly take action as citizens or as consumers. We could stop buying products. We could start boycotting companies. We could pledge to only support candidates that it would adhere or agree to passing legislation or executive order, etc., to make sure that our rights are being protected in those cases. But that's putting a lot of faith on you. And consumers, citizens, voters, we kind of had a problem, right? I mean, I'm so into the Apple ecosystem, right? So I'm recording right now on my MacBook Pro. I have my iPhone XS Max right here. I have, as I mentioned, the all new 2020 iPad Pro, 12.9-inch version. Just to lean a little bit further here, I have my 12-inch MacBook, right? So I'm in on this ecosystem. If Apple were to say that they're violating my privacy tomorrow, what am I going to do? Just dump all of these devices? I'm not. The monitor that I'm using right now is from Samsung. Samsung, it relies on Android and that whole ecosystem. Google is perhaps the world's, beyond government, Google was probably the worst purveyor, maybe Facebook is tied with them, of taking data. Throw Amazon into that mix. Uber, Airbnb. I'm not saying these companies are breaking the law, because they're not in most cases, because the laws have not been passed to protect you. And, or you're that you and protect me. I'm speaking on it for you. Okay, anyway, I went over time. Hope that answered your question, Jennifer. Got a second one from you right here, so I'll take this. AI is helping to revolutionize personalization. How are brick and mortar businesses that do not rely on digital marketing use personalization? AI is helping to revolutionize personalization. How are brick and mortar businesses that do not rely on digital marketing use personalization? Well, okay. That's actually an easy one, in the sense that AI is a relatively new piece of technology being applied to all of this, and we're not still utilizing true AI. There's 3 levels of AI, and I probably should write, I did a master class, actually I did a keynote speech, and I've done an AI master class as well. And maybe in the masterclass series I should do that, or maybe I should write a LinkedIn post about it. Let me know in the comments section below what you'd like to see me do, whether you want to see me do a video on it, do a masterclass video, or whether you want to just see me write another LinkedIn blog or pulse on that subject. So anyway, there's 3 levels of AI. Most corporations are still really just scratching the surface using the level 1. And we're just going to be honest with you, we're not there, or everyone's lying to us. It's very interesting that Elon Musk gave a warning about 2 years ago about AI, and then now he doesn't really warn about it anymore. So you got to wonder, did they get to him? And when I say they, it's the people who he was warning all of us to sort of resist against, because AI was going to be that much of a threat to mankind in the form first of jobs and then as a species. And you know, so DARPA, right, a government agency, if you're not familiar with it, just go to Wikipedia, go to Google and check out what DARPA is. But they have been working on these systems for a long time. Google, with Boston Dynamics, has been working on this for a long time as well too. We're very close to Terminator-like technology. And I'm not trying to be science fiction scare you, but we really are pretty close to that. Not that full level of an Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator, but certainly Terminators do exist. And if you don't believe me, again, Google it. Google like real life Terminator, and you just play with the search terms, you'll see that it's there. So I'm getting off topic for your question there, but when so the technology is there, but it's not being implemented to the level, Jennifer, of what you're asking about in the question at the moment. Certainly, so some of the companies that I mentioned would answer in your first question. So Apple, Google, Airbnb, Amazon, Uber, Microsoft, most of those, SAP, Oracle, etc., Salesforce. So I mean, those companies. So obviously, Elon Musk from PayPal to Tesla, etc. There's a number of corporations out there that have the amount of data gathered that they're able to create computer algorithms that mimic an AI. And so remember, there's a difference between a lot of things that we talk about as being AI today are really just automation. So remember, this is April 2020 when I'm recording this. So if you're watching this at a later date, obviously things have changed. But what we typically talk about being AI is really automation. And there's a big difference between an algorithm, which is where we program we program systems to be able to identify, somewhat assess, and then utilize or combine or manipulate. So you basically can find key attributes of A, B, C, and D, and then do whatever command X, Y, Z we might have to then, so basically A plus X equals whatever the end product is. And that's really automation more so than it is AI. There are AI systems, though, that at a higher level And so learning, so there's really, when we talk about another term called machine learning, that's where the algorithm that we've created, because of its over time of doing this analysis, begins to learn a better way to do it, or begins to be able to show patterns, and then without a human involved in the process, takes those patterns and then creates a different algorithm that then creates a better end result or better product. And so the answer to your question, Jennifer, at the moment is that brick and mortar businesses are not using true AI. And so what they're doing is they're utilizing automation tools, they're utilizing algorithms that synthesize data to be able to create a personalized experience. And a mom and pop small business can rival a corporation like Amazon, because Amazon Web Services will license out a lot of that commerce technology to you. Or you could go to a Salesforce for that, or you could go to an SAP, or you could go to an Oracle. And of course, now cost is an issue, but there's a lot of scalability involved in here. So money doesn't have to be the barrier for you as a small business to be able to just utilize some simple tools to get you from here to here, to make you more competitive. So I hope that whole story there anyway helped to better understand where we're at. But there are very simple tools. You could even hire some. So for one of the pieces of technology I'm working on for my brand called Automated Influx, would be something similar to what you're asking here, where it would be taking everything that I've learned here about content marketing, around omni-channel content marketing, around transmedia storytelling, taking the knowledge that I have here about the steps that I take to do that for my clients manually, creating it, putting it into an automation tool so that then any business could license that software, and they'd be licensing a computerized version of my formula, which is really an algorithm, which will have basic AI into it, but it's really an automation tool to push out content or storytelling for a brand without having to hire someone like me or my team members to do that for you. And why am I doing that? Because I'm getting older, and I don't want to be having to do that daily grind for clients. And I want an automation tool to do that, and they want that. And so there are some companies that do that, like currently, like HubSpot is one of them, and there are others. Marketo, that obviously, I don't know that Adobe had bought from Salesforce. So there are tools available, again, scalable tools. All right, that was like 20 minutes instead of 2. All right, Ms. Yang, let's see, let's take your question there. Oh, you want me to explain the definition, or it's already been explained? Okay. Okay, I don't see your question to me here, and so we're talking about qualified leads, but I don't see a question anywhere here. So if you want to follow up and ask me a question down below, and then I will certainly type a response to you. But qualified leads are, of course, of great importance over just random leads. So in buying, all right, there's a few different ways you can go about marketing off of a list. You can just be given a list and then test that list out to see, or you could buy a qualified list and a ranked list or a scored list, and then utilize that. It sort of takes you a few steps closer to the process of making sure that you speak to a decision, an end game, sort of the end of that cycle decision maker to get you through the process more quickly. When I worked at another consulting company, we had developed an app for Cisco called Avant-Garde, and it was a sales enablement tool that helped their sales team find qualified leads in the marketplace. And within this app, not only were the qualified leads populated, it said, exactly, so you could literally on a map, take your sales territory, be able to see where the leads were. They were ranked by color, sort of at pinpoints on the map, and you'd be able to then target what were hot leads what were the best targets to go to. There was also built into the app where call scripts, email scripts, you name it, to facilitate that particular process. There's lead generation. I just actually ranked a bunch of your threads on that this past week, and there was some great discussion around there. I believe that I had mentioned that for myself, I don't do any type of lead generation. But I get hit by spam salespeople all the time saying, do you need qualified leads for your business? And my business runs 100% on referrals. So which means the business is dead at the moment. But actually, no, that's not true. I've actually been offered some projects, but they happen to be out of Singapore. And at the moment, it's kind of difficult to travel. So, but those are all based on referrals. So that's one way, and that's what my business is built around, based on my reputation, based on the content program that I do on LinkedIn. That's our form of marketing. That would be not our lead generation, but that lets people know that we're out there from a brand awareness perspective, and then they can see what we do. We're live, and if they want us to replicate that for their brand, then we can. They can watch these videos, they can watch keynotes, they can watch masterclass and see the type of things that have been done and go from there, right? So sort of proof of concept, which we talked about in some prior videos. But then of course there's just cold leads and there's qualified leads, and then we could take that a few more steps up. And then of course a whole ecosystem around helping you to then convert, first reach out to and then convert those leads. Okay, Diana, you asked the question, how can a business avoid making their users and customers feel uncomfortable when using personalization? How can a business avoid making their users and customers feel uncomfortable when using personalization? That's a great question. There's been a lot written about that. I'm not sure that I can really say much more than just by hitting a Google search and then finding out what a bunch of people have said. Sort of my synthesis of that knowledge there is it just can't be creepy. So we like personalization. I know that when I see a pop-up ad or I see a banner ad, or if I receive an EDM, I won't yet call it spam, or even worse, well, I guess the number one thing that annoys me is on LinkedIn, I keep getting sales requests. I keep getting pitches from people that I don't know, who actually don't ever bother to get to know me before they talk to me. So whether that's in an EDM or whether that's in a message to me on LinkedIn or on any other channel, if you don't know me, then I don't want to hear it. I don't need to buy. There's nothing. I'm the type of consumer, whether from an enterprise perspective or from a consumer to consumer or B2C perspective. There, I don't. If I need something, I go out and I find it and I acquire it. Your random pitch to me is not going to get me to buy. However, the reason why people continually pitch is because it's that notion of maybe that person's thinking about this right now, but they haven't thought about you. So by having a high level of personalization, let's take in the case of Amazon or Facebook, where based on your history, either in shopping patterns, search patterns, conversations across the whole gamut of Facebook, as well as cookies and third-party apps, etc., that if I'm thinking about booking a trip and I get an ad for that same location and there's a sale attached to that, then there might be a higher level of conversion because of the fact that it was something that was relevant. So Diana, to answer your question, relevance is key, but when it comes to personalization, it can't be too creepy. And creepy, of course, is the example of what happened in Target a few years ago. A classic story of a female who had been buying a number of products at Target online. The Target's, either she was buying them from the website or she was just searching for them on the website, but she had been logged in. And what had happened is that this woman went to the store with her father, and the sales associate made the mistake of, on the CRM at the register, saying, "Oh, congratulations, when are you due?" To which the father went, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Well, the CRM system was so good that the sales associate in the store had known, based on that consumer's search and purchase history that they were pregnant. Well, that she was pregnant, but she hadn't yet told her father that. So that becomes creepy, right? Creepy is the time when you message, so let's say you're WhatsApping with someone and you say, you know, I'd really like to go to Hong Kong Disneyland, which is probably something most of you are not saying, but Hong Kong Disneyland is the closest Disneyland to me. And so actually the distance I am, just as an aside, the distance here where I am here in Singapore is Hong Kong Disneyland is as far from me as Orlando's Disney World would be from Massachusetts. And then Shanghai Disneyland or Tokyo Disneyland are basically the same distance from Massachusetts to going to Disneyland in Anaheim. So when I lived back in Boston, I would often every other year go to either Disney World or go to Disneyland. So either go to Florida or go to California. Being here in Singapore, I either go to Hong Kong Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, or to Shanghai Disneyland. Okay, anyway, that being said, let's say that in a WhatsApp, I said to someone, I would like to go, I haven't been to Disney in a while. Once the lockdown is over, I want to go on the new Ant-Man ride at Hong Kong Disneyland. Well, if just 2 minutes later, I'm now on Facebook and all of a sudden there's ad for not just Hong Kong Disneyland, but ride the all-new attraction Ant-Man and the Wasp at Hong Kong Disneyland, that becomes creepy. It's value added. It's only value added if there's a sale attached to it, right? Or some type of promotion. But certainly relevant, but it also feels creepy. And of course, I've had that happen, but I've had that happen a number of times. That gets creepy. Or talking about going on a beach holiday to the Philippines, which would be the equivalent of being in Boston, going down to the Caribbean. Then if I had mentioned something like that and now there's an ad for that, that's a bit sketch. So you got to be careful with that. Diana, take another question from you. Should small business invest in social CRM? Let's see, let me just read Kendall's for a bit of context here. Have you invested in this yet? Social CRM has the potential, projected boom in the next 5 years. Check the article out. All right, remember, for any of you that want to see the articles attached to the things we're talking about, all you need to go to Twitter and go to @MarketingKitchenTV, type in the hashtag Q&A, and you'll be able to see the articles that are attached to the conversations that are being had here as well. So should one invest in social CRM? Let me try to time myself here since I have already been abusing time. What is social CRM? Well, when we talk about CRM, we're talking about a system, right, where we are monitoring the engagements that we have with a customer. So either in B2B, or which we can get some very rich, Salesforce has some great programs around this. So in B2B or even in B2C, we can get a great history. Think about, prior to the world collapsing, I was a cruise enthusiast as well. So, and I also, brands, by the way, brands that I talk about are usually brands that I have stock in. So for example, Royal Caribbean. And Royal Caribbean, which was one of my highest performing stocks until, I feel very badly for them. Though, however, recently booked travel, they've still yet to, that was canceled due to COVID-19, they've yet to refund. Hello, I understand you're tight on money, but you can't be hanging on to your customers' money. Okay, anyway, that's a side note. So the CRM system for a cruise line is fabulous. Staying at some of the finer hotels, well, even not. So even just a budget hotel could have a great CRM. So that is tracking your engagements with a customer, either at a B2B or a B2C level. Sorry, I'm on tangents today. Either at that level, just on the engagements that they're having with the brand directly. So that would be by bookings, that would be by purchases, that would be by maybe sales calls, whether that be from email exchange, whether that's phone call or that's in person. So any type of direct contact like that. Social CRM, though, is where we go even beyond that. We begin to track what customers or how customers. So who are the customers? What are they doing? What are their habits, etc.? And how are their engagements with me as a brand? And this is really nothing new. What I really love about, well, I should actually not criticize it because I'm a brander myself, right? So branding and marketing is about taking something that's new, taking something that's old and making it seem new by giving it a fancy title. So it's like taking a car. So the way I actually see marketing, because I'm a journeyman in marketing, I've been doing this. One of my very first jobs was a paper boy. Whether I realized it at age 8 or not, I was a salesman. I was doing marketing. I was doing the best that I could do to get the best tips. And I wasn't any Machiavellian about it. I was just an 8-year-old with my bicycle delivering the Boston Globe to everyone in my particular neighborhood. But I learned early on that if I asked each customer, so if I actually got off of my bike and I went and I knocked on the door and I said, hello, cute little 8-year-old boy that hopefully I was, and I said, what time and where would you like your paper delivered? So rather than just chuck it in so it gets wet or in the snow or whatever, and have them tell me where it was that they wanted it placed and what time there, I got a much larger tip. Well, that was obviously sales, customer service, and a bit of marketing, right? Or a bit of branding. I was branding myself. I was the best paper boy in the neighborhood, right? But I got great tips. Then I went on, I worked in retail. Then I ended up working for REITs, or actually doing marketing for shopping malls. I got involved in politics, where I then started branding candidates and their messages and helping them with storytelling, even though no one was really calling that back at the time. Then digital came out. Yeah, that's right, I was around pre-digital. Then digital came out, and then I just found this great new toolbox, this new toolkit, these new channels to be able to do all the things that I'd been doing before. And then, of course, then it skyrocketed, and I was able to then scale it to a statewide, a national, and then global level. And so when you talk about social CRM, it's just like taking an old car, putting a new engine in it, or maybe not even, just taking an old car and giving it a brand new paint job, maybe even giving it some new rims. So you've actually done nothing to the inside of it, you just make it look good. Maybe you just call it something too, so you call it car 2.0, but it's really just repackaged. So social CRM is just really taking all of those other engagements that are happening on social. So what is your consumer doing on social? How are customers talking about these particular customers on social, and putting that all into the CRM system, and then engaging with customers on the channels where they're relevant. But all of this is what we just kind of call big data anyway. But anyway, quite effective. So the answer is, should they invest in it? The answer is yeah. And the investment really isn't very high. There are a number of tools that you can do, and my automated influx, which will come out either the end of this year or early in 2021, will do all of this as well. This is the future of marketing engagement. Okay, hopefully that answered your question there. I wonder how many, I didn't even see my start time here. I'm going to try to bang out a bunch more questions right here, since this is our final episode. So episode 16 here is our final one for spring 2020. And so yeah, let me try to get to as many more, let's say 5 more questions. How about that? Okay, 5 more, let's take it. So Elizabeth, you're at the countdown. So you're number 5 as we count ourselves down here. All right, you ask, how do companies decide to use behavioral personalization over other ways of targeting consumers? How do companies decide to use behavioral personalization over other ways of targeting customers? That's, all right. I love all of the questions, but it's very hard to give a one-size-fits-all answer, because they need to be personalized, if that makes any sense, right? So there's obviously a holistic level that we can talk about, right? So we can talk about things holistically, but when we're talking about personalization, whether companies should invest in that, we're going to a micro level, and the global response becomes difficult. So how do you decide whether you want to use behavioral personalization as opposed to targeting on other, let's say, demographic factors, right? It's really about budget. Here's the way I see it. And it goes back to what I always do on here. I don't know whether you guys appreciate this or not. What is our objective, right? So first is, here's our company, here's our brand. What is our objective? And then in order to accomplish that objective, and usually that objective talks about reaching out to our audience, right? Or I either do it here, where audience is here, and you at the corporation is here. So you got your objective. And so typically the objective is either to increase the brand awareness, the objective is to create or foster some form of loyalty, to gain customers and increase sales. So whatever your objective might happen to be. Then there's the message that you would use to reach out to the consumer to achieve that. And then of course there is the channel, right? So that's sort of the process that's there. If you want to throw in another layer, the layer is budget. So number one, what kind of budget do you have is one thing we have to honestly look at. So if we're talking about how do companies choose, do you have the budget to do it? The next thing is, does behavioral increase our overall objective as opposed to the other data that we're collecting? So you have to answer that question sort of yes or no. If the answer is, will behavioral do something more for us than just standard demographic level targeting, then we need to go to that higher level of personalization that's there. But one should buy or license a CRM system that is scalable, one that can grow, architecture that will suit the needs today, but be future-proof in the sense that it will be able to scale it for tomorrow. If someone were to approach me and say, should we have a customized CRM system that we would build from scratch? I would say absolutely not. You'd be wasting your money if you did that. Sure, there could be some great features about that, but you need to be able to have a system that's going to grow as your needs grow. So a company may not need that type of data today, but they'll probably want that type of data tomorrow, especially as their sales increase. They have more money to move to that. They can target and reach out to a greater consumer base. All right, great question, Elizabeth. Nick, can you think of any companies that have terrible CRM but have had great success over the years? Yeah, okay. I'm going to tell you my favorite brand, but maybe CRM and customer service are different. Okay, actually, so fantastic question here, Nick, and I'm not 100% that I'm answering it the way that you want to, but let me mention two brands that I'm surprised about. The first one is Apple, and so, but Apple doesn't need to do this, okay? Apple is a cult, right? There's website, the Cult of Mac. They've developed such a rabid fan following that they really don't need a CRM, and they certainly don't make use of it. And how do I know that? Because I just showed you at the beginning of this episode the Apple devices that I have. I've only been an Apple fan since I've bought my first MacBook Pro, which was in the fall of 2008. So from 2008 now to 2020, I have roughly bought between 1 to 3 new Apple devices each year. Not intending to do so, just happens. And when I say devices, I'll include sort of accessories right into that. But I'm into that whole ecosystem. Apple doesn't care. I even have the Apple Card, right? So the Goldman Sachs credit card that they issue for Apple. Apple does not, or at least not to my knowledge anyway, has ever tied together my ecosystem of repeated purchases. So the fact that I'm a stockholder going back to, oh geez, when was that? 2002 when the iPod first came out. So they don't track that I'm a stockholder since 2002. They don't track all of the devices that I've bought. So I actually bought iPods and everything too. So anyway, going back to say 2003-ish or so, to where we are today with also complaints that I've had about product. So they've never linked that together. So they have a horrible CRM. They have a horrible customer service in the sense of this. Now, I am actually going to do a video where I'm going to ask the question, who has better customer service and brand experience, Samsung or Apple? So that's a future video coming up because I've got two experiences with both Samsung and Apple. They happened during the same period of time with completely different results. But to answer your question, Nick, Apple clearly doesn't have a CRM, and they certainly don't have an integrated customer service platform because they've never connected all of the dots and delivered based upon what they would if, let's say, it were the Shangri-La hotels, and where if you're a Gold Circle member, where they're keeping track of your travel history, where they then they recognize or reward you for your loyalty to that brand, or what I've seen with Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines. So just giving two brands that have done the opposite of what Apple should be able to do, which astonishes me because the Apple Store was based Steve Jobs based that model on Ritz-Carlton's exceptional brand experience, and I've developed a number of trainings for companies based upon that same principle. Even developed training for Apple, taking that same, actually did an audit of what Apple was not doing that Ritz-Carlton was doing, and then sort of was a retraining on how to elevate that. The other example that I wanted to give, Nick, too, was Disney. So Disney has a cruise line, and they also, of course, have all of their, not just their theme parks, they have resort hotels around the world. They also have vacation properties. One of the things that I've been most amazed about, and I was a Magic Kingdom Club member, so you can Google that and see the history of the Magic Kingdom Club, but Disney, unlike Ritz-Carlton, unlike Shangri-La, unlike Marriott, unlike Royal Caribbean or Carnival, they're well, with the My Disney experience that I talked about in the video that I've done, the masterclass here, so you can take a look at the video up here, just to reference where I talked about My Disney experience. Disney does not integrate all of that data to create a better customer experience for you visiting their theme parks. And again, I had mentioned earlier on in this video about having visited a Disney park anywhere, whether it's domestic or international, at least once a year. Sometimes, I think one crazy year, I managed to get to go to 4 different parks in a year. So talk about spoiled. But Disney didn't care. You would think that when you checked into that 4th hotel, the CRM would have said, wow, this is your 4th visit, not just to the same Disney, but to different ones around the globe. Wasn't there. And so as a customer, you kind of say, gee, I love this brand, but why aren't they doing this? So anyway, I hope that that helped you out, Nick, because both Disney and Apple are companies that have had great success over the years, but they have terrible CRM. Okay, and Disney, Apple, if you're listening, which you're not, but if you are, I'd be happy to help elevate that experience for you. Okay, Demos, you would be question number 3 on our countdown. So we've got 2 left after you. So I love it. What's cooking in the Omni oven this week? Bravo, thanks, Demos. What are ways to make data mining easier and more efficient for marketers looking to create single customer view? So, all right, I'll tell you what's cooking in our Omni-Channel oven this week related to data mining. What are ways to make data mining easier and more efficient for marketers looking to create a single customer view? Okay. Well, it really starts with having the right system at the start. If you have a hodgepodge of different like sales acceleration tools, an existing CRM system, so you've got sort of this patchwork of architecture that's there, so a bunch of legacy systems, I would highly recommend not trying to link them all together. I would recommend either building something from scratch, even though I said earlier you probably should just license something. And I'd really say, when I say build something from scratch, I mean license from a provider, so like an Oracle or an SAP or a Salesforce, license a number of APIs that can customize that experience for you, so that from the ground level up, now you have a system that is future-proof that can grow with your business. And what you would want to do, so whoever, or a HubSpot, or whoever it is that you're hiring, or automated influx in the future, whoever you're hiring to do this for you, you're licensing the software, your own team, but you can actually have people manage it for you as an outsource function as well. So it all depends upon your brand and your comfort level and protection of data privacy and all of that. But the single customer view is where all of the data, so whether it's the demographic, the CRM, so the purchase history, the transactions, the information that when a salesperson does the call, customer service feedback coming in from even for Twitter or Facebook or whatever it is, where it all comes into one place, and you've got a dashboard. You've got a dashboard so that the team can see all of this in real time. Think about it as, if you're a Star Trek fan, the bridge of the Enterprise. And I don't mean old school original Star Trek. We're talking, not the horrible Star Trek Picard series. I'm talking about, maybe from Star Trek Generations, level. One of the best movies to obviously Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, but let's take the bridge of the 2009 J.J. Abrams reboot of Star Trek. So think about if your company had a data bridge, if you will, or a data command center, but there'd be a bridge where you would have all of these monitors and all of these screens, all of the data coming in from all of your customers from all different sources in one place, and you had several core team members that were there that understood how to read and utilize this data, and in real time, this customer support bridge system dashboard would enable you to be able to really see that complete view of the customer in real time to then be able to engage. It doesn't have to be, so you would have that as a back end, but you could have all of that, those dashboard and those tools just on a single iPad. And there are companies that do that currently today, and you should check them out because you can easily do that. And one day, with automated influx, that would be cooking directly right here home in the kitchen, or so I hope. Okay, we're down to question 2. So we're counting down with just one more question to go after Charles. And so Charles asks, what is the hallmark of an effective demand generation strategy? Where do companies fail in developing an effective strategy to create demand for their brand? I ad-libbed at the end there, okay, Charles? But what is the hallmark of an effective strategy? And I don't see who you were having this conversation with, Charles. So because I don't see the retweet that's there. But anyway, let's take a look at your source here. What is the number one rule that you're breaking, huh? And in the process of telling your brand story and generating demand for your products and services. Well, okay. All right, there's 2 ways to create interest in your brand. And we're talking about digital, or we're talking about social, or even talking about the entire Omni-Channel. The referral marketing that I'm talking about, that say my brand does, in a way is that demand generation. So by the posting of content, by speaking at a particular conference, doing a master class, maybe doing an interview in the news, creating this YouTube channel, posting content on LinkedIn, all of those things, right, theoretically would be to help to create demand for your brand in the marketplace. The number one rule that, and I have not read the article here that you have, Charles, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to do that, but I would say, off the top of my head, the number one rule, because I break this one all the time, and that is I don't close the sale. And it does not matter what the engagement is. If you're in business to make money and you don't have a call to action, if you don't have a platform or a way for your customer to transact with you easily and effectively in as few steps as possible, then you have failed. And I would say that that is the number one rule that I break all the time, or that I fail at, because I hate to ask someone for something. I would forego the business rather than put myself out there to say, hey, I've got this service available, this is how much it costs, I can solve your need. Because in my altruistic branding marketing world, I believe that you should see the full body of the product's marketing, brandings, the referrals, the review, whatever it might be, and that when you go to that person, you're already there to buy. Well, unfortunately, I fail at that because my name is not Ron Apple. My name is not Ron Disney. And even those brands would fail if they didn't have an effective form in any way of a way to transact or a call to action. So, for example, as I mentioned, I just bought this iPad on Thursday, and it was so simple, even during the lockdown. All I needed to do is go to apple.com. I read about the new iPad. The iPad came out back in March, but the Magic Trackpad the Magic Keyboard with the trackpad for the very first time just became available 2 weeks early. That was the key differentiator for me to buy the product then. So I went to apple.com because I'm a professor. I could buy from the education store. Went to the education store, had my education discount, Went through the process, chose the Apple Pencil, chose another Thunderbolt, need to grab myself another Thunderbolt 3 cable. Because it's a USB ecosystem, figured I could charge my Apple Watch there. Simple process, click, 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 click. I have the Apple Card, get 3% back, boom, done. That is why brands that create demand for themselves have a system by which that you can just transact like that. And if you can do that, then you succeed. If you don't have that call to action, you don't have that easy process to convert, then you fail. Hope that answers your question, Charles. Okay, I have the final one. This is it. This is the last question. Hopefully, it's a good one. If it's not, we'll go to one more. Solomon, you ask, will we see more companies introduce personalized marketing campaigns? Okay, this is it. This is the final one. Here we go. Yes. Okay, over, done. Episode's over. Yes, of course we will definitely see that. As technology increases, as access to that technology increases, as every consumer has every possible device. If you go to We Are Social and you look at their annual results, actually they publish them quarterly, you could just take a look at any market in the world. How many people have a mobile device? How many people, beyond having this mobile device, also have this type of mobile device? Beyond having that, who has a laptop, who has a desktop, who has a smart TV, who has a smartwatch, who has a connected home speaker, and who has the features available in their car, like Apple's CarPlay. We have so many abilities in the IoT world to be interconnected with smart technology. All of these smart systems, which sometimes are not so smart, like there was this beautiful pairing feature, Solomon, where I could set my iPad up just by linking it to my iPhone or by linking it to my existing iPad Pro from that I got back in 2015, and it didn't work. Or it didn't work right, so I had to do it twice. But then when I restored my backup from my old iPad, it negated all of that. So sometimes as smart as the technology is, it fails. But to simply answer your question here, the answer is yes. Because there are so many smart devices in the ecosystem, because consumers utilize them, they give their personalized information away for free, sometimes willingly, sometimes unwillingly, sometimes unwittingly. In other words, where they are just completely duped by that. But the data that's been gathered is so extensive that for a brand not to utilize the tools that are readily available to them at increasingly low costs today, that if you're not offering a personalized marketing campaign, then you're leaving money on the table. So it's smart money to spend. Always have to look at business, right? There's always that expression. Some of my friends make fun of me because I'm always happy to sue somebody, but one of the expressions is, I'm not happy. The reason why I'm suing is because I'm not happy about what happened in the business transaction. But yes, if you wrong me, expect a lawsuit. But there's an expression there, never throw away good money for bad. So you should never spend money on a lawsuit where the potential of getting that money back is not going to happen. And so let's say it's a client that beat you out of money and it's because they don't have money, then you'd be wasting your money and time going after them. The same thing is true from a positive spin on that, is that if you've got this quantum of potential clients here and you're not reaching them because you're not either doing promoted posts, you're not utilizing a personalized CRM system to effectively scale your sales team to be able to reach this pool, it's better to spend this quantum of money here to reach this quantum of sales, right? So that's spending good money for better money. And the answer is yes, 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 yes to your question there. Well, thank you very much for your questions for the spring 2020 of this digital marketing series. This was 16 videos in a row, dropping typically they dropped 5 days in the week. Others, I decided to pace it out a bit and do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it was great. I enjoyed this. The lockdown certainly helped to lock me down to get it going. Utilizing the format here in this other side of the kitchen also helped that out, as I've shared with you in some of the other videos. So what to expect in the future for these type of marketing Q&As? Well, for those of you in the summer, or any time that is, that you've got a question, please ask me here at MarketingKitchen TV on Twitter with utilizing the hashtag Q&A, and you will find my answer here. I'm going to try to continue with dropping Monday, Wednesday, Friday Q&A videos, or maybe I'll switch that up and I'll just drop them on Tuesday, Thursday with the other days of the week, because I want to move this channel to 7 days of new content. So that's my goal anyway, to go to that type of a system. And so we'll either be doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the future, or doing them to a Tuesday, Thursday cycle. And we'll see where it goes. But by asking a question on Twitter, going to @MarketingKitchen TV Q&A and the hashtag, I will answer your questions here on YouTube. If you offer me a comment on any of these videos, I've shared, if you've not learned anything from me at all, ever, from this channel or from taking one of my courses or anything that I write online, it is that you need to not be a passive user of social media. Don't just sit there and consume. Give back. Give back to content creators. So make sure you like their videos. Please make sure that you subscribe to their channels. Please offer comments. Let content creators know that you either like or dislike their content. Ask them questions. Engage with them, just so that they know that you're there. Because it's really, it just takes seconds, really. It takes hours for content creators to create content. It just takes seconds for you as a user to let those content creators know that you appreciate their content. And I know that once I started on that 2-year LinkedIn program that I've talked about before for content, once I started a year ago here on YouTube, I now make it a point to comment on all the videos that I watch, like them, I subscribe to people's channels, I follow them, I connect with them, because they deserve it for the work that they've done. And I guess in return, I'm asking you to please give me that consideration as well too. I've been saying as a challenge, if you would just share this channel with 2 of your friends, hopefully one of them will subscribe, and then the channel can grow. And then I can hire a person to help me put out better quality content on a more consistent basis as well. I'm not getting anything for this, so there's no monetary incentive here anyway at the moment. It's just really about giving. And if you could just give me a little bit of love back, I'd appreciate that. All right, that's it. That was the monologue at the end. That was me saying goodbye. I hope that we get out of this situation where, with the economy and with the virus that has, the shutting down in the economy has certainly wreaked more havoc, and I hope that the after effects of that shutting down in the economy will not break a number of really good businesses and individuals. So anyway, I'm just trying to say, keep safe out there. If I can help you out at all, ask me in the comments here, reach out to me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to apply my expertise or my experience to the situation that you're in. And you know, I believe in a rising tide raises all boats, right? So we're in this together. Anyway, thank you very much. See you again in a couple of weeks. All right, bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, there's always fresh content simmering on our storytelling stovetop. So whatever happens in this kitchen shouldn't stay in this marketing kitchen. I'm Ron Vining, your host, reminding you to invite your family and friends to the next episode of Marketing Kitchen TV.